3, 2, 1, and we're live. I'm here with Aaron Mruk. Did I get it?
It's close enough.
How do you really say it?
Mruk.
Mruk. Better?
Yeah, that's
pretty good, man. I've been training with you for, I don't know, a couple years now. I don't even know your last name.
That's.
I see it on Facebook all the time. I never even tried it because it's so embarrassing. Like when you've been training with someone for a while, and you're like, I'm like, man, how do you say your name? And you're like, dude, we've been training since I was a white belt. I'm a purple belt now.
It's all good. I'm probably not even pronouncing it correctly, but
awesome. Congratulations on your purple belt, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
How does that feel?
Feels amazing, even though I don't know if I'm quite at that level yet, but it's been a long time. So I guess at some point it was bound to happen.
I don't know if you know, but we have this group where all the black belts chat together, and you're the only one we're unanimous about. So
that's what
just
Dub
so you know,
said. So it feels good to hear that, especially training for as long as I have been on and off, and finding my, I guess, true passion in Jiu Jitsu instead of. So I started off doing MMA and no-gi when I was 21. I'm 34 now, so took some time off for work and school and kids and stuff. But
yeah, kids and stuff are like a real killer.
Yeah,
that's really a time drainer if you're trying to fight MMA.
Yeah, unless you've got a really awesome wife, which I do, but it's hard to, especially if you've got other stuff in your personal life and trying to get a job and feed the kids and the family. It's kind of hard to do that if you're, training and fighting, even if you're doing it full time, and unless you're in the big show, so to speak, you're not making enough money to put food on the table for sure.
And if you're making enough money, you're probably not home enough to keep your wife happy in the first place.
Right.
Because you're like training in Big Bear, or you're like Jack Winklejohns, you're far away.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the worst part, man.
Yeah,
it's so hard to train.
It takes that level of commitment to get to that level, so it's, not without its cons and difficulties, if you will.
So how long have you been training jiu-jitsu?
Strictly jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. When did you start like at a real jiu-jitsu academy?
Probably when I came to our academy where we're at now, so that was
Western New York MMA.
Yes. In North Buffalo and in Amherst at the Eastern Hills Mall. So I think it's been 4 years, maybe almost 5.
Yeah.
I think because I started training out when I was living in Rochester at Williams Martial Arts Academy. Had a guy there I used to train under, Eric, who was a former pro fighter, did a lot of stuff in like Boston and that. Trained there for a while. He was kind of the Bruce Lee school of thought, kind of whatever works. He was not like some of these other karate places or,
right.
I've
been around, I know.
Yeah, showing stuff that actually works, not the
McDojo?
Yeah, the McDojos and showing people the chi blast and things like that. But started training there around the age of 21. Had like 3 or 4 amateur fights out of their gym, mostly down in Atlantic City. And then I moved back to Buffalo, because I'm from here originally. I want to say I moved back to Buffalo probably around 25, 26. Was training out of the back of a Taekwondo school on Genesee Street in Cheektowaga.
With Dan Holly and them guys?
I was training with Josh Yax.
Oh, yeah.
When I moved back to Buffalo, because he was friends with Eric, the guy that used to coach me, and I trained with Josh out of the back of that gym for a while, and then I followed those guys over to Cobra for a little bit.
Right.
But at that point, I wasn't really training.
Did I ever train with you over at Cobra?
Think so, maybe a couple times.
When Kevin Cummings was coming over with Chuck's guys, Chuck Anzalone's guys?
I think maybe on, here and there, but I wasn't training nearly as much as I am now.
Right.
Maybe if I could get into the gym twice a month at that point in time, just because I was going through my divorce and, had a lot going on at that point in time, if you will. So, was only maybe getting into the gym 2-3 times a month at the most. And
that was actually holding you back from training?
Yeah.
You think getting divorced would make you train more?
Yeah, but I was working an overnight job, and I didn't have a vehicle at the time because I did some stupid shit, lost my license. Not DWI related, too many speeding tickets. And
that's even worse, I think.
Yeah, probably. But, New York State frowns upon that apparently.
Yeah, stupid points.
Yeah, that's what got me the points. So,
can you go to Canada?
Yeah, I can go to Canada for sure. That's only if you have like a felony
it's just
conviction.
felony.
I don't have any.
I keep seeing that thing. If you lost your license, you can't go like the new lawyer advertisements that are playing on the thing.
I think that's more for
just
DWIs and DUIs, as far as I'm aware.
Stupid.
Last I knew, I could get into Canada. And I mean, I traveled to a foreign country this year and went to Ireland a couple of years ago, so I think I'm okay to travel. But yeah, I guess life got in the way of training, and then finally about probably right around the time I got with my current wife, we started dating is when I really started getting back into training, and we've been together 6 years, so it's probably been about right around the 5-year mark that I've been strictly doing jiu-jitsu.
Awesome.
So
your wife's name is Jen, right?
Yes.
And you met her in Buffalo?
Yeah, so we met actually our first semester in nursing school.
Awesome.
I'm a registered nurse. We met our first semester in nursing school, started talking, dating, and then got married August of 2016.
Damn.
So, and then between the two of us, this might sound crazy, but we have 6 kids. And then we also took on her nephew, who we pretty much adopted back in January of this year. So we've got 7 kids between the two of us. So.
Damn, man.
And I still, everybody's like, I don't understand how you find time to do everything that you do. And I'm like, I don't know. I just try to balance everything. That's my kind of philosophy.
I can't believe you find time to train.
Well, that's the thing. I have to in order to keep my sanity, if you will, especially given where I work and what I do.
Mm-hmm. Where do you work and what do you do? That leads right into it.
Yeah, I know. So now I manage an inpatient psychiatric unit at the Niagara Falls Hospital. So in charge of people with mental health illnesses and taking care of them and making sure they're being cared for appropriately when they're with us for the short time that they are. And then before that, I was at the Niagara County Jail for about 3.5 years, more or less running the medical department there, which was an interesting job. Similar clientele between the two, the inpatient psychiatric unit and the jail. A lot of common people I see between the two places, just different settings. So
that's tough. No wonder you got a lot. That's tough to take the home, and you got a bunch of kids to take care of at home too. So there's a lot of stress in your life.
Yeah, and I'm not one to lay everything out there. I tend to Irish people don't tend to talk about their feelings. They tend to bottle everything up and either hug the whiskey bottle or kind of bury everything down deep, which is how I handle things usually. So training is my outlet for de-stressing, if you will. So I try to get in at a minimum of 2 days a week, ideally 3 days a week, 4 if it's a really good week. But at the very least, I like to be in 2 days a week.
That's awesome.
Just to keep,
The girls you're bringing, are those your daughters or are those your daughter's or your wife's daughters?
One is my daughter, and then the other one is my wife's youngest. So
wow, I would have never known they're not related. Yeah. To be honest with you, I mean,
sure.
Like blood related. They seem like they've been together forever.
Yeah, I know, and they're very similar in their personalities, which at times is both a good thing and a bad thing because they tend to butt heads quite a bit because they're very in their own way. So if they have a disagreement, they tend to not talk for a while. So, but
dude, they're so good in the gym. There's a lot of kids that you see running through the gym that you're like, man, they should really just be sitting over there by the TV. But your kids are really pretty good.
For the most part, they are.
Trust me, I work with the kids. I know.
You're
I see every one of them, man.
So
I know your kids are pretty special.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm trying to get some of them into training. I tried with my wife's oldest son. He didn't really stick with it. He came with me, I think, about 3 months or so.
Right.
And, he's 18 now, so I think with the time when I was bringing him, he was 16, and he changes his mind with his sports and everything else, like he changes his underwear, or at least I hope he changes his underwear, which is, about once a month he wants to do something different.
I hope he changes a little bit more than that.
I would hope so.
Flip him in and out at least.
every other day or something, but he just, it wasn't for him, so, and I understand that. You can't force stuff like that on kids.
This is a tough, jiu-jitsu and martial arts in general is just a tough, jiu-jitsu especially, or any real physical combat sport like wrestling or sambo is really tough for 18-year-olds because you really have to check your ego at the door.
Oh, for sure. And that would be a big problem for him, which I think is probably part of the reason he didn't want to stick with it, because he was, I mean, strong, tall, wiry kid, but for him it was tough because he'd learn a new technique and he wouldn't continue to go over it like, you and I would. We'd rep it 100 plus times till we got it ingrained in us, and he would learn the technique once and then he wouldn't, continue to work it, and he couldn't remember, the techniques and stuff. And then when someone, smaller than him would beat him or get a better position on him, it would frustrate him, which for a 16, 17-year-old, that's pretty commonplace. I mean, somebody gets the best of you, it's gonna eat at you for a little bit. So for, someone that age to start, I think it's tough, but it's a little easier for the younger kids. So that's why I'm hoping maybe my 8, 9-year-old, getting her into it, because she just finished cheerleading, so she's been talking about wanting to get into it. And then possibly my other daughter, who will be 13, so she's right at that
that's
that
a tough
age where
that's a really tough age for the
she
girl
wants to do
start.
it, but I don't know.
Those kids are either the best kids ever or the worst kids.
Right.
There's no in between.
Yeah, no, there's definitely no in between. It's one or the other.
So they're super into it or they're super not into it after like one day.
Yeah.
And man, I see that every day in the kids class.
Yeah.
And the ones that are super into it, they excel at such a high level. It's amazing to see.
They get almost obsessed with it.
Yeah. 12 to 14 for girls is like that perfect age in jiu-jitsu. Like they're just so much more developed than the boys.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally. So they're great to work with.
Yeah, because the boys at that age are still spaz.
Yeah, they're just getting flooded with testosterone, and
they're like, what is this? I don't know what the hell's going on with my body.
Yeah, and they're all awkward and retarded, and they're
I know, they have no coordination, and they don't know what to do with anything.
And the girls just tune them up, man. It's embarrassing for the boys.
It is, but it's
good to see, though.
That's the way the body works. So
yeah. So the real reason I wanted to bring you in, man, is I saw all the stuff that you do. You got goddamn 7 kids. Mm-hmm. You work in a full-time job. You're married. Your wife works full-time too, correct?
Yeah, she does, and I'm also in school.
God damn.
Feel like I've been in school forever. I got a little over a year left of school, and then I'll have my degree as a nurse practitioner. Mm-hmm. So kind of, I don't know if you know what that is or
I don't know
how they practice. So so currently I'm a registered nurse. There's a pretty broad scope of practice to it, but I have to remain inside that set of skills and things I'm able to do, and a lot of stuff as a nurse you can't do without a doctor's order. So as a nurse practitioner, it's a more advanced level of practice, similar to like a physician's assistant.
Right.
But I can practice independently. I don't have to practice under a doctor, medical doctor. So like a medical doctor has to supervise everything a physician's assistant does at the hospital or at the doctor's office, because nowadays you go to see your primary physician. You're not even seeing the doctor. 9 times out of 10, you're seeing a physician's assistant or you're seeing a nurse practitioner, which is what I will, be in a little over a year, as long as school goes well and I pass my boards, which I hopefully will.
You're the nurse practitioner I would love to see do with that crazy beard. Did they ever give you some shit about that at the hospital?
No, nobody.
No?
Not at all.
Even Dub gave me some shit about my beard running the kids' class. He's like, maybe
really?
you should get that thing under control a little bit, And
it was I used to catch flack about it at the jail, only because all the officers that work there, they're not allowed to have any facial hair, like long facial hair. They can have like a short mustache, and that's it. But other than that, they got to be clean shaven. And then here I come in, and I got my big ass beard, and I'm taking care of all the medical issues and stuff, and kind of they'd give me some flack for it, mostly because they weren't allowed to have it. I think they were probably just jealous. But
yeah, probably pissed off.
Yeah. But no, I've never had anybody pull me aside and be like, "Hey, you need to ditch the beard. It's a little unprofessional." I mean, I try to keep it under control. I mean, we got the same thing going on, so as long as you manage it,
yours is probably more spectacular than mine for everyone listening.
I think it's the color. That's the bright red.
Yeah, and doing it
not that it's bright red, but
it's pretty red, dude.
Yeah, I know. Doesn't match the hair on the top of my head, which is non-existent because they just shaved it this morning.
Perfect.
But,
what's Conor McGregor's whiskey?
Proper 12, I think.
Proper 12, yeah. That's what I was gonna. Earlier on, I've been thinking the whole time since you've been talking. I was like, "What the hell's the name? Conor McGregor's whiskey, Proper 12."
Yeah.
Well, I should have got you some Proper 12 for this thing. Looking at that beer.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you drank or not, so I wasn't sure.
A little bit, not too much. You know.
Should have got you loaded and done this. This would have been even better.
I'm gonna drive home though, so.
Yeah, I'll drive you home after. No Deweys on the way home.
Yeah.
I will not let that happen after a podcast.
We won't be bad role models for the children. So
I had Dylan Freeman in here. He wanted to turn off the lights and take off our clothes. I was like, so a little Proper 12 would set the mood perfect.
Sure. But I think we got a little off track there. But back to what you were asking. So yeah, I do tend to have a lot on my plate at all times. That's just how I function best. You know, I constantly need to be doing something. I don't do well when I'm just sitting around, you know, not that I wouldn't be not doing something, but it's hard for me to just kind of sit down and turn my brain off and relax. My wife usually gets on me about it. Like we went to Mexico, I think it was last year for her friend had a wedding in Cancun or something. So we went for like 5 days and I had a hard time just like laying down by the pool and just trying to relax. I'm like, can we go walk or go do something? I know the cartel might try and abduct us if we go in the streets or whatever. But, yeah, it's tough for me to just kind of sit down and not do something. So
that's crazy. You guys travel a lot.
We try to.
Do you take the kids with you, or do they all like get stuck up somewhere?
No, we try to balance. Like we'll take a trip, just her and I, and then we'll take a trip with the kids. Because my wife is from Florida, so we usually try to get down there once, if not twice a year, to see her sister and her brother and let the kids see their cousins and stuff, one of which, like I said, we adopted back in January, so I got another 18-year-old in my house, which is, you know...
You adopt an 18-year-old? That's tough.
Yeah, well, he was 17 at the time, but he was, you know, like any 17-year-old boy, because you're not quite yet a man at that time. You think you are, but just getting into stupid trouble, you know, with wrong crew of friends and not doing well in school. So we figured we'd give them a little change of scenery, and
that's what Florida's all about. Yeah. Bad decisions.
It's the Mexico of the United States. No offense to any of our Mexican descendant listeners, but it's kind of a free for all.
No race, so you're okay. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, Florida's like a whole nother country. I feel like you need your passport to get in there, but
you almost do. Are you guys religious at all?
I am not. I'm a science, math guy. Like I need facts and figures and numbers. My wife wouldn't say religious, but she's got, you know, if you want to say faith or however you want to term that, she believes in religion and that there's a higher power. Don't want to say I've never been so inclined as to go there, but I kind of had religion forced on me as a kid because my dad's side of the family is very religious. Like my dad and all my aunts and uncles went to St. Mary's High School. My grandmother read, you know, very Catholic family, and my grandmother read at church every Saturday. Everybody had to say grace before we ate. You know, there's rosaries and pictures all over the house. That I never really got into that. I'm more of a, you know, like I said, science-based individual. So I know the trip that I went on, I know that's what we're trying to get to here.
Yeah, I was
at
just
some point.
Yeah.
So my wife and I went on a mission trip, which are typically religious-based. Which
that's what I thought. Because you said mission, I was like, man, where's this coming from?
I mean, there's other types. There's you know, medical mission groups and there's educational mission groups and stuff. But the group we went with, it's a friend of mine that I used to work with at the jail. He's a physician's assistant. He's very religious, very spiritual, and he runs an organization called SIGN, which is an acronym for Serving in God's Name, which is the group we went with. Their main statement or mission, if you will, of their organization is religious-based, but, you know, we went to give medical care and treatment to people that don't have access to it. That's why I went, to help people, because by nature, as a medical professional, I think most people get into the profession because they want to help people. Whether you're a nurse or a doctor or even a medical assistant, you're in that field to help people. Whether that's your main driving ambition or if that's just part of getting into a steady career field. I think most people get into the profession because they want to help people. So we went with my friend Dave's group in July of this year. He'd been asking me for years to go with him because I worked with him for about 3.5 years at the jail, and he kind of, not overzealously, but he would kind of, hey, we're going, we got a trip coming up in January or July. He goes twice a year. He's been going for about 10 years now, to Hatti, which is where we were originally supposed to go in July. So finally things kind of lined up perfectly for my wife and I to be able to go. So we signed up to go again this past July of 2018. So we meet up at the airport with everybody, get all our supplies, because we had to bring a bunch of medical supplies with us, some of which gets shipped down ahead of time, because he's got a contact there who lives there, someone who, I want to say she was a Canadian citizen. He met her on a trip in the past, and then she really loved it down there and ended up moving down there and staying there. So it's like a point of contact for him to keep in touch, and he can send the supplies ahead of time there. So we met up at the Buffalo airport to fly to New York City and then catch a connecting flight where we were supposed to be going to Hatti. And maybe a day or two before we were scheduled to leave, I caught a little bit on the news. I don't pay too much attention to the news. Most of the stuff I get from the news is online. I don't watch, Fox News or
my
CNN
phone tells
or
me the
anything
news
like
I
that.
need to know.
That's I'm the same way. If it's not on Google or Yahoo, I don't really.
If it's not popping up on my phone, like, you need to see this.
Right.
I don't know what the hell's going on
Hurricane
anyway.
Michael just blew through or something like that. From the weather app, it'll pop up. Excuse me, just burped.
Perfect.
But
This podcast was way too normal.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
We got it fixed up now.
Sure. So like a day or two before we left, I had seen there was a little bit of some political drama, if you will, going on in Hatti, and I didn't get too deep into it, so I was just like, oh well, we'll probably be okay. So we left.
What was actually going on in Hatti?
So what happened was the government decided to drastically raise the price of gas and oil and kerosene and stuff there, which creates a bit of a problem when the majority of your population is under the poverty line, and you're also dealing with. So Hatti, if people don't know of it, it's the poorest country in our hemisphere. Like every level of, I don't know if you want to say measurement of prosperity, they are at the very bottom. Like for access to healthcare and median income and wage and it's a very, very rough country to be in.
I heard something, and I'm not sure this is true, so I'm going to ask you right
Sure.
now before we get too far.
Hopefully I
into
know the answer. I don't know.
most places are lit by kerosene, right? They don't have like electric everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of places there do not have electric. Most people don't have running water or access to even clean water.
I heard that a quarter to a half of their income just goes to having kerosene so they can have lights on when it's dark out.
Yes.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
Half of your income goes to making sure you have lights on so you can do something when it's dark.
Doing. And I think a lot of people that are in our society aren't fully aware of the, small luxuries that we have, and they take them for granted, like things like that.
If you make over $30,000, you're in the top 1% of income
the
of the world.
Correct. Now, if you're in the United States, you're considered, I forget what the income is here for being under the poverty line. I think it's like, wasn't like $16,000 or something.
I don't know,
like that
16
here.
or 18, something like that.
So if you
in
make
there.
$30,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of the population in the world, which is kind of crazy. But Hatti is, like I said, it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. A lot of people there. I think more than half of the people that live there do not have access to running water or electricity, even have a toilet in their house. It's a really rough country to live in.
So when you go, are you responsible for your own travel costs? Do you pay
Yes.
for your like plane tickets and all that?
Yep.
Man, that's some dedication to go.
Yeah.
Pay a lot of money to go help some people.
It is. we thought it would be a good experience for us, and I definitely would like something I would like to do again. We might look into going elsewhere.
We didn't even get into the part where we didn't even make it to Haiti.
Yeah, we didn't even make it there. So yeah, a couple days before we were scheduled to leave, they're having some political turmoil there, and the government decided to raise gas prices pretty drastically. I want to say they tried to more or less double them. And when you're dealing with a population that doesn't make a lot of money to begin with, you're going to upset a few people.
So from half your money to all your money, so you can have lights on at night.
Yeah, more or less. That's absolutely crazy. But so they decided to raise the gas prices pretty sharply on the people that live there, and led to some riots and things. So when we landed in New York City for our connecting flight, like literally as soon as we landed, they canceled all flights into and out of Haiti. And then we were trying to see what was going on. My friend who was running the trip, Dave, he was trying to get in touch with his people down there, and no one's phones were working. Like everything was just in chaos. So we went to the information desk for the airline that we were flying with to find out what was going on. They said all flights were canceled until, I want to say we flew out on a Saturday. They were telling us flights were canceled until like Tuesday.
Damn.
And we were like, wow, that's going to put a little damper on our trip, because we were going for 7 days. So if we, can't get there for 4 more days, that's half the trip gone, and we're going to be scrambling to try and get stuff in place. I mean, most of that stuff gets put together before we even get there, as far as like our itinerary, where we're going, all the stuff as far as where we're staying, that's already taken care of. But so we had to decide whether are we gonna try to work something out to still be able to go, or are we gonna fly back home, because we had people meet us from other areas of the country, some people that used to live in the area that moved away. There was a guy, he was moved to Texas. He met us in New York City, flew up from Texas to then be able to fly down with us. And then there was a woman who was from this area, but she was living in New York City, that met up with us. So my buddy Dave, he originally, when he first started doing these types of trips, he went to the Dominican Republic, which is on the same island as Haiti. So the eastern, usually pretty good with the geography, the eastern, like 1/3 of that island is Haiti, and then the other 2/3 to the west is the Dominican Republic, and it's separated by a mountain region. I can't remember the name of it. But he originally started going on these medical mission trips to the Dominican, and he had some contacts and stuff there. So he reached out to them last minute to see if they could accommodate us, and they could. So he asked us, do you guys still want to go? We can do what we were going to initially intend to do in Haiti, but we're going to be in the Dominican, little slightly better accommodations. It's still a relatively poor country as well. Most people think of the Dominican, they think of the nice resorts down, I think one of the areas is up on the northeastern coast, and then there's another area near the capital, but we weren't, of course, going to be staying in those areas and going to those areas because they're resort.
Is that pretty similar to Jamaica? Like, that resort is like,
yeah,
just amazing, and then like 10 feet away they got like armored cars keeping a riffraff of like the poor people away, like down the road.
And we weren't even staying in those areas. Like, we ended up staying in I think it was like San Pedro is where we stayed predominantly, which is about an hour away from the capital of the Dominican. So we ended up, we all agreed to continue to go on the trip, so they rerouted us to the Dominican. I think we had a little bit longer of a layover in New York City, and we ended up going there to do the same type of work we were going to be doing.
Do you worry about your safety when you go to like that's like a totally new, different place to go? Like,
yeah, it is.
Does that ever cross your mind? I mean, that's all I'm thinking about. Like, Dominican Republic, I might get kidnapped or some shit.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'm going now.
I mean, there was a pretty sizable group that we went with. I think there was about 10 or 12 of us that ended up going. So, but safety is definitely a concern when you're in a country like that. Especially that's known for, I don't think it's nearly as prevalent as it is in some of the areas in Mexico with the drug cartels and things like that, but there's definitely a pretty high prevalence of like human trafficking and crime and things like that in certain areas there. So at the place we ended up staying at, we went and stayed with this group called SCORE International. It's another religious-based. My wife and I kind of joked the whole time we were there. Sorry to offend any religious people.
That's all right. None of them are listening to me, for sure.
Yeah. It kind of had a cult-like feel to it, but their intentions and stuff are good. So SCORE is a group. It's a religious-based group, but they go and do mission work through like sports endeavors. So they get a lot of like teenagers, like baseball teams and sports. I don't think they get any cheerleaders and stuff, but usually baseball, soccer. They got a bunch of different locations throughout the globe where they have big giant like compounds, if you will, and they were able actually to accommodate us because my friend Dave had contacts from when he had previously went to the Dominican, and he's like, well, they're a really big organization. The only people that can really accommodate a group of like 10 or 12 of us with all the stuff we have going on and get us set up like last minute to go into these communities to set up medical clinics and stuff.
So SCORE brings in teams from like around
like
the
all
world
all over the U.S., all over the world. When we were down there was actually a baseball team down from Horseheads, New York.
Right, so they're bringing like other big teams down to help like volunteer and help out.
Yeah, so they go
Dominican Republic. I got you.
Yeah,
okay.
So they go like where we were in the Dominican. Like they'll have baseball teams and other small sports teams, and even just like big religious groups come down and they'll do like a sports clinic in this community, and then they'll play a few games, do some clinics, and
we should do a jiu-jitsu clinic, dude.
Hey, that would be pretty cool.
I'm down for that.
And I actually look, they do have some jiu-jitsu schools in the capital of the Dominican. There's a Gracie Academy down there, and there was 2 other schools. I didn't have the time to break away to be able to train. That's one of the things I like to do when I travel, is to go and train at other gyms. It's always pretty cool to get in and get a different vibe, especially if you're in a foreign country. Like when I went to Ireland, I rolled at SBG, which was pretty interesting to train there, and that was pretty cool. And then, usually when I've traveled domestically, I've trained at a bunch of other places too, and go to Atlanta and train at Alliance headquarters. That's awesome. That was awesome.
I saw you were posting from there for a little bit too, or not my Facebook, whatever.
I think I checked in or something like that.
Yeah, something. I saw it, man. I was like, oh, man, I was so jealous.
That was awesome. Got it on. I don't know. There was 60 people on the mat at least, and they're like, "This is like a half full class." I'm like,
yeah.
And it's not a huge space, but So we kind of made some last minute arrangements. Ended up in the Dominican. They set us up in an apartment on their facility grounds, the group that we went and stayed with. And it's interesting because I guess everything in the Dominican, most places that are under armed guard. So like the apartment building we stayed in, like the whole building is surrounded by like a 10 or 12 foot high concrete wall. It's got razor wire on top. And then there's at least 1 or 2 guys outside that are armed. And then the whole complex,
like machine gun armed, or just like handgun standing there armed?
No, a couple of the guys had like combat shotguns. I think one of the guys had an AR-15. Like everything in the Dominican's under armed guard, and then in Haiti there's none of that. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's kind of interesting because from what I was told, because there was other people on the trip, they had been to Haiti before, and they had never been to the Dominican, and they said they'd never really had any issues in Haiti because people are actually really grateful. And not that the people in the Dominican weren't grateful, but because you have less of that, I don't want to say, it's not really military presence, but less of that show of force, you don't have as many issues per se. Like if you've got a place that's under armed guard, you're like, oh, hey, what's, there must be something there that
that's worth stealing, or
that's worth yeah. So I mean, we didn't run into any issues or anything, but we went and traveled a little distance away from where we were staying and went to a bunch of different communities and set up medical clinics and gave people mostly basic medical care and treatment. We didn't really have any emergencies or anything like that, but just to go set up shop in a community, and by the end of the day, we saw, 100 people. We'd set up in a small community. They would let them know like a day or two ahead of time, because we traveled with translators and stuff that were familiar with these communities, or maybe they had contacts there, and they would let them know like a day or two ahead of time that this group was going to be coming to offer medical care and stuff. And
so what kind of medical care do you offer? Like
so
pregnancy help, prenatal pills,
yeah,
like
all
all
that
kinds
stuff.
of stuff, like ringworm protection.
Didn't have any ringworm. We did have quite a few little kids with scabies, which is another skin parasite. It's pretty...
Is it an actual parasite?
Yeah, so with scabies, it's almost like a little bug.
Right.
You get these really not weird, but these streaks like on the webs of your fingers and your feet, and it's really prevalent with little kids. It's spread, like if I had it and I just touched your arm, you would more than likely end up with it. And
so it's not like it's given you by a parasite, but it's contagious.
Yes, it's very contagious.
Gotcha.
And you got to put this really, not harsh, but it's pretty potent cream on to get rid of it, and you got to keep it on for like 12 hours and put it on. I think it was like one of the first or second people we saw. My wife and I had to put this cream, because you got to do it like on your whole body. You just got to watch out for the eyes and the mouth and stuff. And we had to put it on a little infant that was probably not even a year old.
Right.
That was just covered in it. And then all the other kids and stuff in the community are like touching the baby, and we're like, don't touch the baby, because you're gonna end up with it. But
is it hard with the communication barrier too, to be like, oh, this is what we're doing before you start doing it?
A little bit. And I didn't take Spanish in high school. I took French, so it completely served no purpose for me here. It would have in Haiti, because in Haiti they were a French colony, so they speak Haitian Creole, so it's like a mixture of like French and Spanish kind of similar. It's more French based, so that would have helped me a little bit there. But we had translators with us, so we would each kind of set up like a station, because we ran all the clinics from, like, they had small little community churches, and we would just go in there because it was a structure, because a lot of people's homes there are not what you would equate to a home here by any stretch, and we can get to that in a few minutes. But yeah, we would just set up at the church, and we would have a couple stations set up. Like my wife and I would be set up at a station, and we would have like one or two translators with us, and they'd sit with us. We'd ask them what was going on with them, what brought them in. A lot of times, we'd get pregnant females in, so we'd give them prenatal care. Get some older people in, maybe with some blood pressure issues, or they ran out of their blood pressure or their diabetes medications. Probably the most common thing we treated there, though, was for parasite infections, because they don't have access to clean water there. So they're drinking whatever water they can get a hold of sometimes, or if they don't have the money, because usually you'd have to walk to the nearest store in the community, and they would have, the big 5-gallon jugs of water that they'd get from the treatment plants and stuff, and they would get that. But most people there had parasite, had the parasitic infection. I can't remember the name of the parasite, but usually causes a lot of GI upset, like acid reflux and stuff. So
does one medicine take care of all of it, or do you have to find out what parasite it is?
No, because we knew what it was going in there. I can't remember the name of it now. It's going to drive me crazy. But there's a pill that you would give them. It's just a one-time dose and treat them. So we pretty much gave everybody the treatment for that, because most of them hadn't ever been treated, or it had been quite a long time since they had been treated, and they were probably reinfected with it. So I even, everybody that was on the trip, my wife and myself, I think the second to last day we were there, we took the medication just to be on the safe side, because we were using bottled water just to brush our teeth and stuff. Even at the building we were at, they had a pretty big water filtration system, but it's really shouldn't even be drinking that water just because of all the stuff that's in there. So
especially dainty American stomachs.
Yeah, I know. We have all the, and that's what I used to get a lot of people at the jail that we would treat, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not drinking this water. It's got lead from the pipes and stuff." And I'd be like, "You have no idea what, dirty water is even like. The stuff here would be a miracle."
They'd be on their knees begging to drink.
Oh,
that stuff.
absolutely. It'd be like us grabbing a bottle of Fiji or something for the people down there. So, didn't really have any emergency treatment we had to give anybody. It was mostly kind of like urgent care type stuff.
I'm amazed by how much
primary care stuff,
medicine you guys got down there for this.
Yeah, we had and we didn't even have probably I think we maybe had about a third of the supplies we were supposed to have, because everything that we were taking with us was sent down ahead of time. So we only had the little bit of stuff. We were each given, some stuff to pack with us, some topical steroid creams and, aspirin, Tylenol.
Did the airport
some
get after
fungal
you guys
stuff
for all that stuff?
No, because we had checked it all in and stuff, and we had some, as long as you have proper documents as far as, we're a medical team traveling to, go do medical care in a foreign country. They don't really give you any hassle or anything like that. So we didn't run any problems with that.
So if you guys are running your weed from Canada, that's what you should say you're doing.
Yeah, especially now since they legalized it. But,
it's been a big thing. People are getting busted at the border with a bunch of weed.
Oh, I know. That's going to be going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Until things here get settled down, but that probably won't happen anytime soon.
Depends who's the next governor.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think it's with us, because most states it's legal, but then at the same time it's illegal federally. So then you run into a whole nother mess of issues. And if they really want to press the issue, they could probably end up throwing you in jail for it anyways, just on federal charges. So that's never fun. So, but yeah, most of the care that we did was, kind of primary care based. And then a lot of people we would have to watch, because people would come through the line a second time to try and get meds for someone else, or maybe they forgot something, or they wanted to try and stock up on something, but we had limited supplies. So we kind of, unfortunately, we would have to turn people away, because we're like, we already treated you for this. We really can't do much for this, because usually the main would be for diabetes medications and blood pressure. And especially with blood pressure, if you have someone who's constantly, their blood pressure's, through the roof, it's like 180 over 110, whereas you and me, we're supposed to be, normal blood pressure, usually like 140 over 80. If they're used to being that high and you give them medication and you lower them too much, they're going to run into a lot of other undesirable problems, because their body's so used to operating at that high pressure. You could, cause some pretty significant problems for them. They could run into a blood clot. They could, have a stroke. They could, run into.
You keep saying, I was like, I have no idea. Dude.
No, I'm sorry. I'm trying not to get super down the medical rabbit
I like
hole,
it though. I'm learning a lot. I feel smarter just from this podcast.
We had to, unfortunately, we couldn't treat all of the things that we would like to have, because at the same time, if we were able, even if we did give them medication, maybe for like 7 days or 14 days worth, you're only helping them out for those 14 days. After that, they probably didn't have the money to get to the doctor or the money to get their medications again. So you're really not helping them in the long run. You're only helping them for that short period of time. So that was pretty difficult to have to turn people away, but that was kind of just the reality of the situation. We only had so many supplies, and you got to think kind of big picture with the whole thing. So
what is the big picture?
What is the big picture?
Yeah.
In terms of
like helping those people. Like it just seems so horrible. Like I don't know.
I mean, do
you feel better after you go, or do you feel worse? It feels tough. It's like you're helping everyone, but you're like, man, I want to stay here forever and help all these people,
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. I mean, it felt good to go and help those people. Excuse me. But at the same time, you're like, well, how much did I really help them? So it's tough, because a lot of people there, don't have access to any medical care, or haven't seen a doctor maybe ever in their whole life. They don't have, big medical centers like we think of as hospitals. They don't, all their infrastructure for that stuff is pretty basic at best. And we were in the Dominican, so we didn't even get over to Haiti, where things are much, much worse. So it's, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to answer that question. It's, you're doing good by helping people, but at the same time, you're only helping them for that short period of time, or maybe just giving them a little bit of information on how to maybe change a small eating habit or something, lay off the salt,
Right.
help keep your blood pressure down a little bit, or, lay off the sugar, because, a lot of the food down there, it's pretty heavy on the sugar. So if you're diabetic, we don't want to, have them going crazy on the sugar and that. So
Just think people in the United States with access to Google on their phones don't eat good. And they
I
don't
know.
understand dieting.
That's one of the most maddening things.
I can't even imagine what it's like over there. Oh, sugar's bad for me. I didn't
Right.
know. Like, they might not know that.
Right. And they eat what they have available to them.
Right.
Like we just go to the grocery store and we grab what we need for dinner tonight or for the next 3-4 days. And there, I couldn't even recall seeing any like major grocery stores. It's mostly like small markets. We went to one of the markets, I think in the capital. Yeah, it was in the capital. And we went to a market, and there's just meat hanging from hooks and stuff, and you don't know how long it's been sitting there. And a lot of the food that, it's rice-based foods and plantains, which are really good.
They're giant.
Yeah,
Giant
those
bananas.
things are huge. They taste a little different. They're not sweet, but they are delicious if you know how to prepare them and cook them. But a lot of starchy foods in their diet. So,
Is there a McDonald's there?
we did see a couple McDonald's. Yes, McDonald's. There's fast food places everywhere.
That's how I know the government's not bombing them. If there's McDonald's there, they're okay.
Yes, yeah. I can't speak to Haiti. I don't think they probably have a McDonald's in Haiti, probably at the airport or something like that in the capital. But we did see a couple McDonald's. I think a Burger King. Nothing too crazy. Not like it is here. Every corner you turn down, there's a fast food place. But yeah, their diet's pretty high in starchy foods, which isn't the best thing for you if you're diabetic and you're trying to get that blood sugar down. So I could go into a whole nother spiel on diet and management of disease and stuff like that, but I'll save that for
Speaking from a guy
for
drinking
school.
Gas Monkey energy drink, and I'm drinking a Pepsi.
Yeah, mine is sugar-free, though,
Yeah.
I will say. And
Very good. How are those?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
Dub was giving me shit the one day for this.
Yeah.
Somebody knocked it over on the side of the mat, and I was kind of mad, but
Oh.
it's pretty good. Doesn't have the aspartame in it, so
I
it's not the worst
drink
thing
that
for it.
Rockstar, the sugar-free Rockstar normally.
I usually drink those too, the Rockstar
Yeah.
Zeros or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I can't do the regular sugar-free one. That one in the white can, I'm not a huge.
Well, that's mine. That's
Is
what I
it?
drink. And
I drink the one. It's
the one with the creatine in it's not too bad either. The blue one, it tastes like cotton candy.
okay. Yeah,
The red one I had today is pretty gross.
It's in like this type of colored can, but I think it's white, and it's got like the orange one's really good.
Yeah, the orange. I like the orange.
The
Those
orange,
are hard
the
to
sugar-free orange one's
Yeah,
really good.
they're
That's
hard
my
to get,
favorite.
though.
They are. But yeah, diet and lifestyle, that's a whole nother thing I could go into, especially since I'm doing my project for my master's program on that. So
get. You should do a podcast on your own, man, about this stuff. It's
No,
pretty interesting. I would
that's-
listen to it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, but again, finding the time to do that would be a little. I'd be up at 2 a.m.
Just take your phone and you can
Yeah.
just get a little mic for your
True.
phone and talking to shit while you're driving, dude.
Yeah,
And just edit it when you're at home. No big deal.
yeah, I could. I don't know.
You can always
Maybe one
find
day.
time. I just
This
listen
is
to
true.
podcasts in the car, so like
I do
lots of
that.
time.
That's mostly what I don't listen to the radio. It drives me insane listening to commercials. I want to be productive with my time, so I mostly listen to podcasts all the time. My wife will get in the car and she'll be like, "What are you listening to?" And it'll be like, Joe Rogan talking to whoever he's got on and going down that route, or I listen to a couple other things as well. But
Yeah, the Jocko podcast is really good.
I
too.
downloaded that one and I haven't gotten around to listening to it yet because I'll be really good and I'll listen to podcasts, all day, maybe when I'm at work doing stuff and in the car, and then I'll get away from it for a couple days, and then I'm like feeling like I'm having to play catch up. So I've got Jocko stuff in my queue to listen to. I need to.
I work in a machine shop, so all day long I'm all
Right,
by myself. All I do is listen to podcasts all day long, every day, man.
Yeah.
I feel
Some days I can at work because I'm got an office gig kind of sort of now, so I can be doing something on the computer and put it in my ear for a few minutes and listen to it, but usually get interrupted. So try to get through the backlog sometimes. But
no Wi-Fi in the Dominican, huh?
Yeah, not so much. I did have use of my phone there, because I have AT&T and they have coverage down there, believe it or not. Some spots were not that great, but the apartment where we stayed at, they had Wi-Fi, luckily.
Damn, you did have Wi-Fi. I was just joking.
Yeah, but like if you're in the city and stuff, they did have like Wi-Fi spots and that, but if like when we were out in the communities doing clinic and stuff, they didn't have Wi-Fi. Most people there, we didn't get too much into that, but most of the communities where we went to for the clinics, their houses were probably about the size of this room.
Damn. When we're sitting in my, I don't know, was it like maybe 12 by 10?
Yeah, if that.
Fucking.
And it's crazy because you would have a small family living in a place about this size, and it's like the metal, like what a metal barn would be. Like their whole house is made out of that, and it's just a basic structure.
So no wood. So it's
like there's
metal?
some wood studs, holding the shape of the structure, but it's mostly metal. Because they get a lot of storms down there and stuff.
Well, that's a lot better living than the wood. And I was just thinking that area with the hurricanes. And
Yeah. Some people did have, houses. Every community was a little different in the way their houses were. Like we went to some communities. 'Cause I think we ended up going to like 4 or 5 different places in the same region where we were, which was San Pedro. So one day we went to kind of like a super rural community, and everybody, lived in basically like little metal sheds about this big. Some people had a little bit bigger. And we were, at the church running clinic, and like one of the community leaders kind of offered their house to us to be able to use the bathroom and stuff. And they had like a small little outhouse behind their house, and you walk right in. They let you walk through their house, and it's just maybe sectioned off. This area would be sectioned off into 2 rooms. One would be like a little living room, and they'd have an old tube style television with a little table and like 2 chairs that were probably not anywhere near as nice as these. And then a room in the back with their bed and the bed for their kids. And then out back around like a little curtain thing, they had a 3-walled area with a curtain hanging and a toilet and a kind of a shower. It was
what kind of a shower? Like it was running water, or
yeah. So it would come from like a reservoir. They would have like on if they had a really nice setup, they would have a little collection thing out on like the side of the house to collect rainwater, or they would have like a little pump thing, and you pull the handle and you get a little bit of water to rinse yourself with. And that would be in like a really nice person's home, if you will. Some people didn't even have, a kitchen sink. It was just literally 4 walls in a bed. It's kind of a culture shock to see, people living like that. And most of them are really proud of not how they live, but what they have, whether it's, how small. Could be something little like I've got, this really nice table here, and, this is a picture of my kids, things like that. But they were proud of what they have. They weren't embarrassed of, because we would look at it, and I think that's probably speaks to how our society is and has been for a while. Everybody wants the newest, greatest, everything. I gotta have a nice car and the phones and, biggest house I can have. And these people, I don't mean to say these people in a negative way, but
it's okay to talk about us.
No,
so okay.
I know, but the Dominican people, they were proud of, we would look at it and be like, wow, they don't really have anything. Like, they're living in this fucking shack, and I don't even know how they would be able to live like this, but when that's all you have access to, and they're appreciative of what they have because that's what they've worked hard for, that's what they busted their ass for, so they're proud to have what little they do have, but they look at it more in a positive light, whereas I think even us here, even if you have all that nice stuff, there's still kind of a negative connotation as to,
so
having it, if you will, or
do they have
how you got it.
Do they have jobs on there? How does it
so
work?
Some people, if you're in like a lot of the more populated areas, like the little suburbs and things like that, a lot of people travel into the major cities and they have jobs there. I mean, there's some areas where people do like, factory jobs and things like that, or other people, they live in a little farm community and everybody helps out on the farm. They, work on the farm. That's how they help everybody get their food. And they're pretty much they don't earn a living, they're just working to
feed themselves.
Right. So that was more of what we saw. Or you'd have people, where we were staying at, we were maybe 500 yards from the beach, and it's this nice white crystal blue water on the beach, and you'd have there's some little shops and small restaurants and things on the beach or on the little boardwalk area to the beach, and obviously there's people that run those businesses, and then you'd have people like coming up to you on the beach. I think we got to go to the beach like 1 or 2 days, and they would come up to you and they maybe made some beaded necklaces they were trying to sell you, or little trinkets and things like that. So they're trying to hustle, for lack of a better,
right.
Not in a negative way, but they're trying to make money however they can. And
hustle's a good thing, man.
Yeah, it's showing drive and ambition, So, or you'd have people just directing you where to park to go to the beach, and they would, I don't know if they were actually expected to be showing people where to park or whatever, but people would pay them. You could tell the people, they were people maybe from a nicer area of the region, and they'd have a nice vehicle, and then there's maybe a group of 5 or 6 kids between the ages of like 14 and like 20, and they're trying to tell people where to park on the street, and they're directing them, and somebody will throw them a couple bucks out the window or something like that. So that's, in more of those type of touristy areas that, I mean, there was some nice hotels near where we were, but we stayed at, with that religious group. So we were pretty self-sufficient, but
they're asking you for goat sacrifices and
right.
stuff.
The biggest thing there, like, they don't have basic infrastructure for most things that we would expect here. Again, the running water, a lot of places we went to, the communities, they didn't have electricity at all. But like garbage and trash pickup was probably the biggest like shock of like, I don't even know how people put up with this. Like, we would just be walking down the street, like in these communities, or like when we went to the beach and stuff, and there would be just a pile of trash, or just bottles and cans and wrappers and plastic and everything you can think of, like just a mound of it on the beach, like the size of this room, like for maybe a couple 100 feet. And then the next day, we would come out and check it out, and it would just be a big ash pile.
They burn it?
And they would burn it. And even in these little communities and stuff, you'd be walking down the street, and they're just trash everywhere. They think nothing of it. Little kids running down the street. Kids are not great at that stuff anyways, picking up after themselves. But, even grown-ups and adults would be walking down the street, eating something or finishing a drink or something, just toss the bottle aside, and, they don't think anything of it. Whereas us here, we wouldn't, most people wouldn't be able to stand the sight of that. And there, it's just an everyday, but they don't have the money to worry about creating, an infrastructure for garbage pickup or trash pickup, or, electricity to get to those, communities that are way out there because they don't have paved roads to even get there, so it's
damn, not even paved roads, huh? So that's
like in the cities and stuff, there's paved roads, but like we'd get out, to go to these communities with the clinics, and we're get off the paved road and we're on this dirt road that, one side of it's way up here and the other side's here, and we're in this bus and trying to
not tip over,
not tip over and stuff. So
that's crazy.
It's pretty eye-opening.
Can you talk about that lady that we were talking about in the locker room that had you in the house with the bathroom pot?
Oh yeah. So
this is a story that Aaron told me. As soon as I heard the story, I knew I had to have him on this podcast.
So I think that
just to talk about this trip.
So that was the last day we had clinic, because I think, like I said, we went for a week. I think this was on Friday and we were flying out Saturday. So we were at this clinic, in this community, and this woman in the community opened her house up for the females to be able to use the restroom and stuff, because it was literally like, 20, 30 feet from the church where we were at. And obviously for the guys, it's easy for us to go to the bathroom outside. We just find a tree or something out back behind the building, we're good. But this woman opened her house up for the women in our group, my wife included. And, like all the people that were there, whose houses they allowed us into, she was proud of what she had. And it wasn't, again, a lot. It was, her house was modestly sized compared to some of the other houses where we went. So it was probably, the whole structure itself was maybe like, 20 by 20 at most. So she had this little living room that was probably about half the size of this room, and there was a little TV, and she had like a small kind of couch sofa, and pictures of her children and stuff, and she was very nice and inviting. And then in her own bedroom, that's where she told us that the women could use the bathroom in that, and my wife went there with one of the other girls in our group to use the restroom, so I wasn't even there when she went, but she brought me back a second time when she had to go again later. But she, the woman in her doorway of her bedroom, there's just like a drape or a sheet hanging there, and she said, okay, the restroom's in here, and it wasn't even a toilet. She had a pot or a basin on the floor of her bedroom that she offered up for the women to use the restroom, and I don't think anybody else in the village, as far as we knew, had a bathroom or anything. So it was, they had to squat down in this little basin that was maybe 6 inches deep and maybe 12 inches around to use the restroom, and kind of freaked my wife out. But it's, what was available to us short of going out in the woods and going to the bathroom outside. So that was, but this woman was very proud of, again, like I was saying earlier, of what she had. She had pictures of her, I think she had a young daughter, maybe 8-10 years old, school-age kid, and she had her school picture up on the wall, and we were way out. I think that village we went to, it took us about 45 minutes to get there, and there was a throughway we took to get there, and then to get back to this place, you're like 3 miles on this dirt road off the expressway to get up to this small community. And they, again, I think they had one little, like, not even a corner store in the community, but you could go there to buy the filtered water that you needed, and they had some electricity in that building and some refrigerated things in that. But there was, a pretty sizable farm that a woman had in that community. She had goats and pigs, and I think she had a cow that was basically the food source for everybody in the community. She had chickens and stuff, so people went up there to get their eggs, and if they wanted milk and the cow was producing it, that's where they got it from. But other than that, it was a bit of a struggle to provide, a lot of the stuff that they needed, whereas we would just go to the store, hey, we need a loaf of bread. I don't even recall seeing bread in a lot of the little villages we went to.
It's got to be hard to make bread.
And again, most people in their homes didn't have...
Because there's no stove.
I don't recall seeing...
Yeah,
they don't have gas.
So then you got to make a big oven. And you got
or you're cooking over an open an open fire or something.
It's tough to bake like that.
Yeah, I don't
Holy
recall
cow.
seeing a stove in anyone's home that we were in the community, you know. So most of the stuff they have to eat, it's got to be ready made, or you have to, you know, we didn't really see too many people cooking because they didn't have
No pizza. God.
Yeah, that was, you know, if you were in like the capital city or something like that, you could find a pizzeria, but that's, you know, like you're in a major city there, which I think they only have one or two. So, but yeah, that's
Ray would starve to death.
yeah, right.
Good thing he's not here.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have a little bit of a struggle because my wife and I, we've made some dietary changes and we've cut out a lot of the bullshit of our diet, so we thought we were gonna be dying while we were there. But it wasn't too bad. The group we stayed with, they basically packed us lunches every day, and that was another difficult thing to have to deal with when we were there. So we would set up clinic in the community, and we would do clinic. You know, we'd get there maybe like 9 a.m, so we'd see people from like 9 to like 12, 1 o'clock, and then we would stop and take a break and eat something. And they packed us, you know, just nothing crazy, just some turkey and ham sandwiches and couple, you know, big bag of chips, and then they'd give us a big Gatorade container full of, you know,
Swamp water.
no, I think it was like papaya juice and stuff. I don't know.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, nothing crazy, but you're sitting there eating, and like you would have all these little kids, you know, maybe 7, 8, even a little bit younger, that would be just kind of running around in the community unsupervised, and they'd be like staring at you in the doorway, and you felt guilty because you're eating a sandwich, and that kid probably has never had a sandwich in his life, or he hasn't maybe eaten an actual meal in like 2 or 3 days. He's eaten a bowl of rice for breakfast if he's lucky, or maybe he had a plantain off the tree, you know, a few blocks away from where he was living, and you're kind of dealing with, I don't want to say an inner struggle per se, but like the guilt of, here I am, privileged white American citizen who came here to help you, and I'm eating a sandwich in front of you, but at the same time, if I give it to you, then everybody else is going to be coming and expect like, oh, hey, you know, where's mine?
Right.
So we were told not to hand out things like that. Let the leaders of the area or the village or the church where we were at delegate, you know, handouts of any excess that we had left over to not create any problems or anything for the people that we were
turn
there.
into an ugly situation. to
It
be
could.
honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. And again, when we went on those, you know, clinic days and stuff, it was just us and then the translators. We didn't have anybody with us, you know, for security. But again, when you're in those communities like that, most people are pretty thankful that you're there. Just even offer them some little bit of help and aid, if you will. So it was,
Dude, that's so deep. I'm so glad I had you on.
of course, yeah.
I feel bad.
No, there's no need to feel bad at all. You know, my wife and I are definitely going to be. Excuse me, this energy drink's got me burping like crazy.
That's good.
Plus, I haven't eaten in a while. So,
Oh, man.
I got meatloaf waiting for me at home. I shouldn't even probably be talking about that after we just got done talking with this. But no, we definitely want to
Does
go.
your wife make a meatloaf?
She does.
Oh.
It's quite
Well, because
delicious.
meatloaf can either be really good or it can be pretty
it can
bad.
be pretty bad. She makes some awesome meatloaf, but we're definitely planning on going again. Like I said, my friend who runs the group, he goes twice a year. He goes in January and July. I know he's booked up for the trip in July or this coming January, but that was this, you know, it was pretty warm down there. I don't do well in the heat, as you can tell by my pasty appearance. So that was a bit of a struggle, but we were definitely had a good time, and you know, I think we helped quite a few people, and it was an eye-opening experience. But we would definitely be willing to do it again, and we want to at some point. You know, whether we go with my friend's group again or we find another group to go, because we've been talking about going to Africa. Because there was a woman in our group, she went and did a mission trip to Africa. This was it's from an organization out in Syracuse, and this was mostly like an educational based group, and they had a small medical component to it, but I know there's other organizations out there and stuff, and we would definitely be willing to go again, or maybe, I don't know, sometime in the future when I'm done with school and everything, maybe I'll start my own little group or something to.
I was just gonna ask you, does it ever make you feel like you need to help out and raise money and get over there?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to do that at some point, and maybe once my plate's not too full, or I can clear a little space for that, if you will, to do something like that. That's definitely something I would be interested in the future.
What's amazing to me is that you're not religious at all, and most of the time the reason for that people do this is because they're religious, and you're just such a good person that you want to do it anyways. It's like amazing to me.
Well, I don't know. It is, yeah. I appreciate that.
Because most people's driving force, they think it is religion or like the need to be rewarded in the afterlife, or like you're doing it not to be rewarded, unless, it makes you feel good on the inside, but that's not much of a reward.
But I just do it because, by nature I like to help people. But I'm, again, like you said, a lot of people do it for religious, there's an underlying religious tone, or maybe that's the main driving thing behind them, but I've never really been there. I just do it to help people.
People like that fascinate me, because that's how I was for almost all my life. I didn't really believe in anything, but I always just tried to be a good person.
Yeah, same. Don't be an asshole. That's how
I like that. And
just go be a nice, not to be cliche or whatever, but just you what you kind of put out there is what you get back, I feel like. So if you're out there being an asshole, that's all you're gonna, people are gonna give that right back to you. But if you're out there doing something good, or even just going about your daily life and not stirring up too much crap or causing any problems, things tend to be pretty smooth. Or if you're out there helping people, you'll tend to get, some sense of gratitude, or makes you feel like you're doing something instead of
just coming
just
from
kind
a
of sailing
red
around.
Bearded guy with tattoos all over.
I only have the 2. I don't have that many.
Oh, really? That's all you got?
Yeah, I only have 2, and I only just got them not long ago. I got this one this year. My buddy in Tonawanda did that, and then this one I got done on my honeymoon in Ireland 2 years ago.
Yeah, you've had that as long as I remember you training with me, like blue belt wise.
Yeah.
And
that one's only 2 years old.
I remember that one a lot. I see that one when your gi comes up a lot.
Yeah.
I see the tip of that.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew you had that one. And then I saw the other one while we're sitting here. So I figured you had more than just those 2.
No, that's all I got. I
don't even think I've ever seen you without your top on, to be honest with you.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I know, so you would think I'd look like some Viking.
Yeah, especially with the beard,
tattoos with beard. One of those biker dudes or something. I'm planning to get more at some point.
I knew you fought too, and like so far I'm the only guy I know that fights doesn't have any tattoos. So
yeah, when I did fight, I didn't have any tattoos. So that's if that's any consolation.
It's so crazy that like you enjoy fighting and you enjoy jiu-jitsu, like choking people, strangling them, simulating murder. But dude, you're such a nice guy, and there's a lot of stories like that out there.
Yeah, no, I think there is. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what we do in our spare time or in our free time. Even still now with the more spotlight that's gotten on the martial arts, or even jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts, or even boxing, that just a bunch of meatheads who want to go fight, or a bunch of drunken idiots. That was more back in when the UFC first came out, or mixed martial arts did. UFC 1, and thinking of Tank Abbott pounding a couple shots before he goes out there to fight.
Yeah, but that's still an image in everyone's mind.
Oh, it is, and it's unfortunate, but it's definitely one of the most difficult of all athletics that you can do, I feel like. So, I've done quite a few things before I got into martial arts. Soccer, track, football, martial arts, especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts, is definitely the most difficult, not only physically but mentally as well, because you need to be able to be calm under pressure, not quit. You need to use every avenue you have available to you in order to succeed. You can't just rely on, physical skill alone. You need to have, I don't need to tell you, you've been there, you got to be mentally tough as well. You can't just get by on skill alone. And that's, a lot of thinking involved as well, which I think people don't feel is the case. You just go in there and punch them in the face as hard as you can, right?
Right.
Not quite. Because if you overreach with a right hand, you're going to get caught with a left hook or, catch a roundhouse or eat some leg kicks or something. So
For sure. I don't think you really know yourself till you've been out to compete.
Yeah.
Either on the mat or in the cage by yourself.
Oh, for sure. And that's something I struggle with when we go to fights. Even just going to the local fights, watch our teammates and stuff at the casino and listen to these drunken idiots, for lack of a better word, in the crowd. Oh, stand him up. Oh, beat his ass. Choke him out. Okay. My wife always gets on me for telling me to shut the hell up when we're in the crowds, because I'm going to most likely get into a fight because, they're standing there screaming those things out. I'm just like, you have no idea what it takes to even get to that level, to even attempt to step in the cage, let alone get in there and compete.
I went to the fights with my son, UFC.
Yeah.
210, I think, was the one that was here, right?
I think so. I can't
remember now,
recall.
but I mean, there's so many UFCs anyways. But
I
took
know.
Forrest there, and they were just yelling in the crowd, like just some horrible things when the ladies were fighting. And Forrest probably knows more about fighting than anyone that's sat
I know,
around us.
right? And he's, like, what, 10 or 11 years old?
Yeah, he's 12 now.
He's 12, okay.
Dude, he's so, like, he's been around his whole life. He knows so much.
Sure.
And he's, like, looking at these people like they're retarded.
I know. I've only been to one UFC fight, and I struggled with the same thing. And I hadn't even, I think at that time when I went, because I went with a friend of mine. We went to the one in Newark, New Jersey, when GSP fought Dan Hardy.
Oh,
and
man.
Shane Carwin. And I think that's when he fucking almost took Frank Mir's head off, if I remember correctly. But just listening to these people in the crowd, I think at that point I'd been training, maybe 4 or 5 years, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't even. I can't. The struggle is, it's difficult just to sit there and listen to some people who have absolutely no idea.
I have the same problem with people that are good, though. Like, like once you start training, once you're wipe out for about 6 or 8 months, maybe even you're first starting to be a blue belt.
Yeah.
And you watch these guys in the cage, and you're like, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? I'm like, dude, he knows that stuff. Trust me.
Yes. Oh, he does. He does. And was it Hoist Gracie that said, black belt who gets punched in the face, every time you get punched, your level goes down a little bit?
I think Hoist Gracie was one of the black belts, only 2 inches on my back. The rest is up to me.
Oh, okay. It might have been. I forget who said that, but black belt who gets punched in the face turns into a brown belt, and then
that's one of
into a purple belt.
Carlos Gracie's guys, I think, or maybe even Carlos Gracie.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't remember who said that, but it's true. It's not that they don't know those things. There's a lot more to it than just.
Right. And the level of athleticism now. Pat Mix is a blue belt, dude,
which is crazy to me.
Like he
He's a
tunes
monster.
me up, dude.
I know.
Black belt. He tunes up all the black belts. Like, people don't understand, like, the level of athleticism that the guys in the cage have.
Oh, for sure. It's absolutely crazy. And it's huge. And it changes the level of competition and the technique in there. I mean, you could have all the technique in the world, but if you can't apply it to someone who's extremely athletic, it's not going to work as well as it's intended to.
For sure.
Do
you know Szprygada? Dave Szprygada?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he just got his black belt, too.
Oh, did he? Nice.
Yeah, congratulations from Caveman's Corner to Dave Szprygada.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I can tag him in this now.
Yeah, definitely.
He was on the podcast before, too.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one to listen to. He's a really insightful guy.
I know he is. Him and I, we've had some conversations back when he was training with us. He's a police officer, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. And we had some pretty, interesting conversations in passing and stuff. I think we had some similar philosophies and things like that.
Yeah, you like him a lot. You guys would get along really well.
I think so.
I don't know Dave that well either, besides for our talks, but just having him in here for an hour and a half or whatever he's here for is, dude, I love this because you get to talk with people from other gyms and just get the whole vibe.
It's definitely the community aspect of it is huge, and I think that's something that maybe doesn't attract people to it at first, but once they're involved with it and they see that, it pulls more people in, and they tell their friends about it who maybe weren't even considering getting into it, or maybe they were on the fence about it. I think that helps bring in,
Yeah, people like you are going to help the community a lot too. I just want to, I want to get you out there so people know what you're doing, dude. Like, I had no idea, dude. You're in my own gym. I didn't know what a fucking cool guy you are, dude.
Well, I appreciate that. I try not to, be too boisterous with the things I do. I just kind of keep to myself and keep my head down and keep grinding, if you will.
Yeah, dude. I had no idea how much shit you're doing. I'm always like, man, he always looks tired, dude. Like, rolled him 2-3 times. I'm like, man, if you could only get in here more.
Yeah, I know.
I would be so good. Your technique is really good too, dude. Like, I really believe that.
Well, I appreciate that. I try not to rely. I mean, not that I'm a super strong guy at all, but I try to be as technical as possible, and doing my best to try to get in there more. Is like I said, it's tough for me to get in there sometimes 2 to 3 times a week, and ideally I'd like to be in a minimum 3 times a week, if not more. But trying to flex that time in between school and my job, and trying to see the wife, and doing everything with the kids, because all the kids are, all of them are teenagers except for 2 of them. So they've all got, sports or after school stuff, or just even helping with homework and stuff. And then I got my own homework on top of it. I got to read, 300 pages of my textbook by, a week from today to make sure I've got all the material. Even just skimmed it for a test I got to take. And it's, just feels like it's never ending. But, there's an end goal there, getting done with school, getting my degree, and,
giving back to the community, dude.
Yeah,
Jesus
at some
Christ.
point, maybe opening up my own practice or something down the road. And then from there, we'll see what happens. We'll branch out from there, but one step at a time,
I got one last question for you before I let you get out of here, dude.
Of course.
Like, you got to tell me about the tape that you no one tapes their fingers more than you. And you were the first guy to do it. Now everyone at the gym's doing it.
Yeah.
Matt Flores started doing it.
Sure.
And Dub's even doing it, dude.
Yeah.
Tell me about the finger tape. I've never taped look at these things. I've never taped these things
I can
once.
tell you haven't. I do it because it helps with, keeps my grips from burning out. Because sometimes I get, I play a pretty heavy grip game. I like to do a lot of spider guard and de la Hiva and collar sleeve grips and, half guard, like Z guard type stuff. I play with collar sleeve grip. So I do it to protect the middle joints of the fingers here. I tape pretty much everything but the thumbs, because obviously when we're gripping, we're not really using our thumbs at all for grips unless you're, reaching into a collar or something. I
always got my thumb in people's pants. I'm not.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
That.
No, it gets tangled up and then you're going to twist a finger up. But yeah, I just do it to keep my grips, and I still need my hands for work because I'm a nurse. So,
do you feel like it really protects your joints?
I do, or maybe it's just a psychosomatic thing, and it's really kind of like a placebo effect. But I feel like it does. I don't, because when I first started training, I would notice I would get, I don't want to say cramps in my hands, but I would get my hands and fingers in weird positions, and they would kind of, I don't know if I would say lock up on me, but they would give me some trouble, or I'd be pulling, trying to grab a lapel, and I'd be trying to keep it, and I couldn't keep as good a grip on it as I'd like. I don't know. I find that the tape helps me quite a bit.
Yeah,
so.
Dub says the tape helps him a lot, too.
It does. Just,
I think it makes you look like a badass, dude. When you got all that tape on, you got that nice gi, dude, and you got that crazy beard going on, dude. I'm
right.
Like, oh, man.
Look like you're ready to.
Yeah, people probably duck you just from the visual image of you.
Maybe. I don't know. It's possible. But yeah, that's why I do it. So I don't know. I find that it helps me. So I just keep doing it. And my tape budget's probably higher than most people's. And my wife, gets
do you
on
get
me about it.
The grappler's tape where it's already pre-cut, or do you get the regular tape?
So when I first started doing it, I just bought hockey tape, and then I would kind of rip it or
oh man, that
cut it.
Sucks pulling that off,
such
dude.
a pain in the ass. So I usually buy the grappler's tape, or whatever you want to call it, finger tape, that's pre-cut already. I use the thinner stuff. So I think it's, I don't know, maybe a half inch or probably a little thinner than that. I like the thin stuff so I can get around I usually go do like a double pass on my fingers. So
you use the grappler's tape brand?
No, I usually, I'm trying to remember. The one I've been buying a lot lately, I think it's called Armadillo tape. I found it on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's like $13 for like, I think 5 rolls, which isn't bad.
I'm gonna tag them in this, so hopefully
hopefully they'll give me a sponsorship.
Yeah.
Shout out to Armadillo tape. I like their stuff. It holds up pretty well. Before that, I found some other stuff on Amazon. It was a little more expensive. It was like $12 for like 2 rolls, but that stuff was really tacky and it stuck really well, and it was black. I think it was like power tape or something. And then I tried.
I remember when you had that.
Yeah, that stuff really works really good, but it's hard to justify spending $13 on 2 rolls, and I probably go through a roll a week. If I'm, training 3 days a week, I probably go through a roll a week. I've used the monkey tape. That stuff's pretty good. It's a little expensive, so I've gotten the Grappler's tape before. It's a little bit thicker than I like the one.
They usually have a good deal once a month on that stuff. I've almost got a couple times.
I've bought it a few times from there. I'll usually buy like 3 packs at a time to stock up. It's like $12 for like 5 rolls or something like that. Their stuff's pretty decent, but I really like the Armadillo stuff. It's like the perfect thickness for me because I like it just a little bit thinner. It's probably, I don't know, whatever that, like maybe just over a 1/4 inch thick, and that's what I prefer because I don't want anything too big because I feel like it almost like casts my fingers, so I can only bend them like this far, whereas if I use the thinner stuff, I can actually get
still close your hand.
I can still close my hand, but at the same time, it's still giving me that support on the joints.
That's the thing. When I taped, I actually didn't like the feeling of it when I closed my hand.
If you're using the thicker stuff, I find that it doesn't allow for that flexibility that you want, but at the same time, giving you that support that you need. So that's...
I guess I have to try that Armadillo brand.
Yeah, try the Armadillo stuff. That's my personal favorite. So, yeah.
Yeah, Matt. Even my wife saw you all the time. She had Matt tape her fingers before she did the tournament too.
Okay.
I think it was just because she saw you, dude.
Yeah.
You were the first guy that was really taping the fingers up.
Yeah.
At the academy.
I think so.
Then Matt started doing it, and then Dub did. Like a lot of people do it now.
Yeah, I try to, because people ask me, usually newer guys when they come in, why do you tape your fingers? And like, did you break your fingers or something? And I'm like, no, I just, I tape it for support and keep my grip strong. So, a lot of people ask me about it or ask for pointers on how to do it. So I'll show them once or twice, and next thing I know, they're coming in taping all their fingers up. Or you
should make a YouTube thing.
I should, right?
You probably get like thousands of views, dude, and then you make some money doing that.
Hey, I probably should. I need to get a lot of mouths to feed at home.
Yeah, so you got to monetize everything these days,
no, I should.
Like social media.
Yeah, I don't get on those too much. I have my Facebook. I don't really post on there too much. And I have a Twitter account I don't even really use. I just follow people on it, and occasionally.
Well, make sure you share this.
I will, absolutely.
Put it out there.
Yeah, as soon as I get home, I will post that. Just
I'll
send
put
me
it
the
up.
thing on Messenger. And
I'll message it to you.
Up there.
I'll get this up I'll do this tonight, dude. This is really good.
Yeah.
I usually have to edit these because most of the time I have guys on that don't really talk so good. So there's a lot of editing.
Right. I try not to fumble over my words too much.
No, this is perfect.
Swear too much.
I don't even got to edit this at all. And usually Ray will just sit there and he's puts his hands on his face and and then it'll be like minutes of silence. And then he'll say something that was just so stupid in the first place. I was like, every time Ray's on here, I'd do a lot of editing. Sure. There's lots of long pauses.
Gotta cut out the dead air.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Try to be semi-intelligent.
Yeah, dude, you're really smart.
Head trauma hasn't caught up to me yet.
No, not yet. And you're smart. You've been doing Jiu Jitsu, so there's not a lot of head trauma there now.
Well, a few MMA fights I had.
Are you going to get back to fighting?
I don't think so.
No?
Not that tell everybody jokingly I'm too old to get back in there.
Dude, I'm 41.
I know.
Fighting in like 2 weeks.
I'm 34. Yeah, every now and again I get the itch to get back in there, but then, for me to be able to put in the time that I would want to get back into that level of fitness, if you will, would be kind of difficult given my current schedule and daily routine, if you will, because I'd have to be in the gym probably 5 days a week and be, pretty.
Even amateurs, it's like a profession now.
Oh, it is. It's hard to, balance that with if you've got kids or even just a regular job and you're trying to.
Dude, you're doing mission work. You're doing mission work. You're going to school. You're a registered nurse. You're about to be. It's LPN. What you're trying to get?
No, I'm an
right?
RN.
No, yeah,
So-
but you're trying to be an LPN.
No,
right?
NP.
NP.
So there's
Dude, so what's an LPN, man?
so
I thought that was the
LPN
next step up.
No,
from
that's
RN.
that's
the bottom.
That's the bottom.
Oh man, I didn't mean to slap you in the face.
No, it's all good, man. So an LPN is a licensed practical nurse.
right.
So usually that's like I think it's a 1-year program, usually at like BOCES or
Right.
like a vocational school like that. And then a registered nurse, it used to be, I mean, it still is, it's a 2-year associate's degree. But you can also get your bachelor's as a nurse as a 4-year. Usually like UB, Damon, DUville offers that. And most of the hospitals are pushing for you to have that to even come in the door and get a job, is to have your 4-year degree. And then you can get your master's as a registered nurse. Usually when you get your master's degree, it's more for like, you want to be an educator, you want to get into maybe research or something like that. And then beyond that, which is what I'm going for, is my nurse practitioner's degree. That's a master's level program. And then you can bridge that into getting your PhD and your doctorate of nursing practice, which is what I'll eventually be, maybe in like probably about 3 more years, because there's, I've got about a year left of this program that I'm in. Then I'll have my nurse practitioner's degree after I sit for my boards. Similar to being a doctor or physician, you have to take a state licensure exam to pass, kind of like what a lawyer would have to do for a bar exam. You have to do the same thing as a nurse. Whether you're a registered nurse, you have to take state boards. LPNs have to take a board exam as well, but a nurse practitioner, you have to take a state board exam too. And then after that, I'll do another year and I can have my doctorate. So
After that, why not be a doctor? Jesus.
So you're slight difference, because doctors go to medical school, and then as a doctor of nursing practice, it's essentially the same amount of time. It's just a different route, like educational wise. It just took to get there. You went down the nursing road as opposed to going down the road to become a medical doctor and had to go through med school and stuff. I mean, there's certain things that a nurse practitioner or a DNP can't do. You can't perform surgeries. You can be a first assist for a surgeon or a doctor on a surgery, but just some minor differences and things like that. So
yeah, goddamn.
Yeah,
you're so educated too.
I feel like I've been in school forever. I have been, because I have another college degree aside from my nursing degrees too. So
dude, people always say that it's so hard to get nurses to work at like all the facilities when people run facilities.
Yeah, it is. Because it's one of those jobs you can't really replace with a machine or a robot.
Right.
You need a person to take care of you. You can't just, plug yourself into a computer and have it tell you what's wrong. I mean, at least not right now with the way technology is. Maybe somewhere down the line we'll be able to do that. But right now you need someone to care for you as a person, not just physically, but mentally, and, take care of you as a whole, if you will.
And a non-homo way, dude. I'm fascinated by it, man.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're just amazing.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it sounds kind of homo when I said it like that, though. I'm sorry. We're both married, so it's okay.
Yes, we are.
And we have all our clothes on. Dylan's not here, so. Dude, that's an
Definitely.
amazing podcast, man. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate your
Anytime,
time.
absolutely.
Dude, thank you. If you ever want to come back, dude, anytime.
Yeah, let me know. We can definitely do one again in the future.
Yeah.
It would absolutely be.
Is there any way, if people listen to this and they're like, don't want to donate their time, money, anything?
I could put something back up on Facebook for the group that I went with, because last time when I went for my trip in
Are
July...
they a cult, though? Are they going to start sleeping with your wives and
No,
stuff?
nothing David Koresh-like or anything like the Moonies or anything like that, which is kind of funny because my wife and we get down those rabbit holes and watch those occasionally about the different cults and things.
Jiu Jitsu is not a cult because they're not trying to. Well, most places aren't trying to sleep with your wife.
Yeah, hopefully not. But I can put up a link on my Facebook to donate to the organization that I went with and volunteered my time to when we went on our mission trip. It's called Serving in God's Name. Again, I'm not religious and don't identify with anything like that. So, but just a good organization. Your money's going to go to a good cause to help people who do not have access to any medical care whatsoever. In a very poor country.
And it's not really like there's not like a big office where they're taking all the money out of
No.
donations
My friend, he runs it out of his house. He's not the type to, steal at all.
Right.
He's got to be one of the most selfless people I've ever met in my life. He's been going, not to jump on you,
right.
cut you off, but he's been going to Haiti twice a year. He leaves his wife, and he's got 4 children at home. Actually, his son came with us on the last trip. His son is 14, and he was, probably one of the best 14-year-old kids I've ever met in my life. Like, most 14-year-old kids, you're taking them to a third world country to go, do anything, and they're not going to be all about it unless, you're going on a resort or something. And he was super helpful, super excited about it. But Dave's got to be one of the most selfless people I've ever met. He goes down there. He's been going twice a year. He leaves his wife and kids at home, or he'll take one of his kids with him. He goes twice a year in January and July to Haiti to, go administer medical care to people. And he's been going for, I think, over 10 years now. He's been going. So it's not like he's just taking people's money and using it for, to go buy himself a private jet or something like some of these crazy, gospel preachers you see on television, the televangelists, and they got God told you to give me $25 million because I need to buy a new jumbo jet. That's not even in the same.
You always got to ask when you get into like this religious stuff, though.
Yeah, you do. And
sometimes it's crazy. Not even just religious stuff, even like Red Cross or like anything like.
Yeah, because if you look at a lot of those organizations, most of the
money
donations,
goes to administration costs, dude.
It does not go to actually helping people. I know there's some websites out there that tell you, like, for every dollar you donate to various organizations, like where it goes.
Right, how much it actually gets to where they say it's going to.
Yeah, and a lot of the
sometimes like 12 cents out of the dollar, dude. That's sick.
Absolutely crazy. But everything that gets donated here, like all the money that was donated to us, because I was posting a lot earlier this year because we went in July. So if you scroll through my Facebook page at some point, if anybody does, I highly doubt they will, but
I did before you came.
Did you? I don't post like hardly ever.
It's not too hard to go up to July for Aaron.
Yeah,
it's like
so even before
2 swipes up.
Yeah, I don't go on there much, but we were asking for donations to help, get us there. I mean, most of it came out of our pocket, but all the money that was donated went to the medications, went to, supplies that we needed for the trip. 100% of it did. So it's not like we took the money, put it in our pocket, and that was the end of it. Everything went to.
Just listen to the way he talked, man. It sounds like they need everything they can get because.
Yes. Again, most people there don't even have access to clean drinking water, and they don't have electricity. It's absolutely crazy. And we went to the Dominican, which is slightly more developed than where we were originally supposed to go in Haiti. So it's, pretty.
I know you don't take them, but my thoughts and prayers are with you guys, man.
I appreciate
awesome.
that. We're going to be definitely going back again in the near future. So,
all right. Aaron
Mruk.
Aaron Mruk, thank you very much for your time, dude. And I'm going to post this everywhere. Like, Jiu Jitsu should know about you.
Well, I appreciate that,
dude, and congratulations on the purple belt.
Thank you.
Once again, it's awesome. Deserved because rolling with you, dude, it's a battle until you get tired.
And I usually don't get tired too often.
Yeah, so I gotta get you going and try and break those grips, man. That's tough.
That's again back to the tape. So
yeah, I'm gonna start cutting your tape off before we roll. Now I know,
right? That's where the power comes from, the beard and the finger tape. So
right.
But no, I definitely appreciate it, and this was good to get some of that out there. Like I said, I don't really talk too much about a lot of the things I do. So in a way, it was
amazing, man. I'm really touched. This is probably this is probably the best podcast I've done. I feel the best about this one. The one with camera is pretty good too. When we tried to help out, I actually went down and helped them out, and we handed out food and stuff one time. Right. That was awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah, there's
a lot of work down in Jamestown, and
there's we have a huge shortage of those things here, even because I live in Niagara Falls, and I see, we don't. There's a lot of need for help here locally too, which is, I didn't catch any flack from people about that, but some people look at like what we did, like why are you going there to help those people when we have people here? I get that, but also at the same, our government is kind of guilty of letting those people, I don't want to say be the way they are, but they're not helping those people in any way.
Right.
It's pretty irritating, for lack of a better word, if you will, to see a lot of the people that are in our communities that don't have access to stuff. And sadly, a lot of them are veterans that are not being served by our own government, who had them go to various places and serve for them. So that's a whole nother, maybe that's something I'll look at getting into.
I got a person on the podcast for that, though.
Yeah?
I had that G.I. Jane.
Okay.
Alyssa Vasquez. I know she's been having some health stuff, but I'm eventually going to get her in here. And she actually fought Fallon Fox, too.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
That's a whole nother, who shouldn't even be fighting women, but
that's a whole nother show, because they never told her that she was anything but a woman.
That's criminal.
And that is criminal.
Because when you've been a man for 30 years of your life, and coming from someone who's a medical professional, you retain a lot of that.
It's the bone structure,
muscle density, size of the hands, structure of the shoulders. That's criminal.
Men and women need to be separated in combat sports, and I don't care what you identify as, you are what you were born as, and that's what you should
I agree.
be as. Just in combat, any sport really, but combat sports
especially, that's a whole nother, when you're dealing with head trauma and people's long-term brain health, that's a huge reason to keep that.
Even that transgender wrestler in Texas. That's crazy that happens in Texas.
I know, one of the most one of the most like hard viewed, like that stuff tends to not fly down there. You think of Texas, it's all pickup trucks and guns and Budweiser. That's the most American place there is, and for that to be happening in Texas,
that's crazy. You know that story, right?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, she's taking testosterone, dude. That should be illegal.
It should be.
It'd be illegal if she was a dude taking testosterone.
It would be, especially if they were fighting the UFC and you had Vitor Belfort levels of testosterone. You're 5 times what a normal person should be. It's that's a whole nother area of ethics and legality you get into. I feel like that.
Hey, I'm old. Can I get some testosterone replacement therapy from you?
Yeah,
you aren't nurse,
down
right?
the road.
You steal me some. And get all jacked for it's 2 weeks out, right?
Yeah. Get you on a quick cycle.
I had to get something funny in here.
No, absolutely. I know. I try not to be too dry.
No, dude, this is great. This is a really good one, dude. I'm proud of this. Hopefully, I'm going to put this in all the jiu-jitsu places, and
all right.
Hopefully you'll be famous. And remember, stay at Western New York. Don't let nobody steal you.
That's where I'm staying. That's where my heart's at.
Double get mad if I start having people on there and then they're jumping all over the place. Yeah.
Oh, I'm moving to New York City to go train at Henzo's or something.
Yeah, I got hooked up. They're just training him all over the world now. He's never going to be back.
No. This is my home, so this is where I'm staying.
Awesome, man. Thank you for your time. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And we're done.
Awesome.